I'm just reading the Bible, and this is Skeptic's Annotated Bible, and I am into the book of Leviticus. Leviticus is a Latin word which means of Levi, pertaining to Levi. The priests of the Old Testaments were of the tribe of Levi, hence Leviticus, Levitical. However, the Hebrew word for this book is Yikra, and Yikra or Yikra in Hebrew means and called. The Hebrew names usually come from the first verse of the first letter of the first word of the book. And so if we come to the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, we can see the Hebrew name of this book, Yikra, and we can even translate. Our Hebrew is sufficient to translate this. Yikra means and said, so Yikra el Moshe, Zaber Yehovah Elau Me O Hel Monez Le Omer Le Mor. Read that again. Yikra el Moshe Daber Yehovah Elau Me Ochel Monez Lemor, and that means, and Yahweh called to Moses and told him from the tent of meeting to say. So Yikra means and called. So that's the name of Leviticus in Hebrew, and that's the first verse of Leviticus in Hebrew from the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. And as we can see, the God of the Old Testament is a cannibal deity. He very often tells people or causes people to commit cannibalism. So we have here, and ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. And so if you worship the God of the Bible, in my view, you are worshipping a cannibal deity, because this isn't the only instance of Yahweh commanding or causing cannibalism. And I just wrote here Leviticus, book of Priestcraft, because that's what it is. It's all of these gory, bizarre rituals. Take an animal, cut it up into pieces, burn it, and this is a sweet savour unto Yahweh. I just wanted to talk about that word, sweet savour. In Latin, this is odor suavitatis, which means odour of sweetness, smell of sweetness, and this Latin phrase often comes up in the Mass. Odor suavitatis, an odour of sweetness. I think when the incense is blessed by the priest, this word comes up. And I have no problem with this because frankincense is actually an odor of sweetness. But is this an accurate translation of the original Hebrew phrase? Well, the Hebrew word for savor is reach, savor or smell. So savor or smell is reach. But the word for please, the KJV translates this as sweet savor, but so savor I think is right, or smell, or odor, or aroma. You actually come across this word a lot in Duolingo Modern Hebrew, which is why I recommend, if you want to get into the Hebrew Old Testament, to do the Duolingo course, because you actually pick up quite a good bit of biblical vocabulary. But I just wanted to discuss this sweet savor in Hebrew is, don't know why that's happened, reach ni koach, and this word here, ne koach, is related to noach, and the verb nach in Hebrew means to rest. Noach means Noah, and Noah is so named because he invented wine, and I think that the book of Genesis even says this. Noah invented wine, and wine gives rest to the heart. So you can see knock, it's of the same root. So, and I looked this up, and placating smell might be a better translation. Pacifying smell might be a better translation. Tranquilizing aroma might be a better translation. And this is very interesting because God in the Old Testament is a hothead. He is described as an extremely volatile character. He flies into fits of rage, and I think in the KJV this is described as the wrath of the Lord was kindled. The slightest provocation and Yahweh seems to blow up like a canister of gasoline. Very volatile character. And so if you offer to Yahweh an animal sacrifice, or even a human sacrifice like Jephthah's daughter, or the sons of Saul, Yahweh caused a famine in Israel because of the sons of Saul, and so I think it was David, he hanged the sons of Saul as a sacrifice to Yahweh, and Yahweh seemed to accept the sacrifice because he ended the famine. So this is very interesting. Like, Yahweh seems to be this hothead, this deity with anger management issues, but if you sacrifice animals or humans to him, then this causes him rest, because this word again at root means rest. This causes him to rest up. This causes him to relax. So yes, this is like the smell of burnt flesh, be it animal or human. It seems to be a relaxing smell to Yahweh. And this is why I say that the Bible is actually worse in the original languages because, I mean, this kind of thing doesn't come across in translation. You know, you can only get this, you know, in the original Hebrew. And this is actually coming to be one of my, apart from the KJV, this is becoming my favorite Bible in English, because, as Hector Avalo says, it is only through mistranslating the Bible that we can render it somewhat acceptable to a modern audience. However, the translators of the Legacy Standard Bible are Calvinist extremists, and Calvinist extremists, they know that they worship a hateful God, and they rejoice in it. As Pine Creek Doug says, the God of Calvinist extremists is a schmuck. But, you know, they like their schmuck God. They are comfortable with their evil God. They like the evil God. Indeed, one of the reasons why they like their God is because he is evil. And so I think this is a very honest translation because of that, because they're not trying to mistranslate a lot of the evil stuff that a modern audience would turn their nose up. They aren't trying to mistranslate this stuff out of the Bible. And so if we turn to the book of Leviticus, they seem to really bring out this from the Hebrew. Because the Legacy Standard Bible translates sweet aroma or pleasing aroma as soothing aroma. So Yahweh, he gets really agitated, and yet if you sacrifice an animal or a human to him, this soothes him, this calms him down, this causes him to rest. So they're bringing the translators of the Legacy Standard Bible, MacArthurite, Calvinist extremists, you know, they're bringing the unacceptable nature of what's going on here out in the English language, and credit must be given to them. I think that this is a very honest translation.